Tonight, Albertans make their choice. Another dance with the UCP or another chance for the NDP?
Taxes, I would say, is a big thing.
Everyone's equal rights to education and health care.
I don't want stupid people.
Why the answer lies with ballots cast in Calgary. Wildfires in Nova Scotia bring some dramatic scenes of escape and wrenching stories of loss.
He checked at our home and he said that it's completely burnt out and they couldn't find our pets.
A childhood accident and a lifelong search for inclusive skin products.
I mean, growing up, I didn't see anybody that looked like me, that owned a beauty brand.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Well, when it comes to elections, Alberta doesn't usually do nail biters. And yet, after a long night, here we are. Polls closed, votes counted now for hours. And for the incumbent UCP, led by Danielle Smith, and the NDP, led by Rachel Notley, there is still a path to victory tonight. But getting there far from sudden and overwhelming. Tracking it all, we have Aaron Collins in Calgary. So, Aaron, polls closed a long time ago. The fact that we are still musing about the result, that's unusual for Alberta.
You can say that again, Adrian. I've covered elections here where things were called in less than half an hour. So what's behind this? We're not entirely sure, but votes have really been trickling in slowly. And Elections Alberta is telling us that might have something to do with a slow sort of counting of those advance votes. Why does that matter? It matters because about 750,000 Albertans voted that way. So they're investigating that. We'll get more information on that. As those votes do slowly trickle in, what am I watching though? I'm watching the city behind me. I'm watching Calgary. And that's because the path to victory for both the UCP and the NDP runs right through this city. And whoever wins here, whenever that happens today, well, they're likely going to win this day.
Calgary, home to nearly 1.4 million people and exactly 26 seats. Voters here, the prize in this election, divided.
Taxes, I would say, is a big thing. And just generally personal responsibility.
Everyone's equal rights to education and health care and whatnot. And so I feel very strongly about that.
I don't want stupid people leading my governments.
Signs of this election everywhere in battleground Calgary. The NDP kicked off their campaign here.
My name is Rachel Notley and I am running to be your premier.
The UCP did the same.
At its heart, this election is a choice between moving forward or going back.
Both leaders spent much of the home stretch of their campaigns here too. Both parties promising hundreds of millions of dollars in spending in the city if elected. The UCP offering to pitch in on a new NHL arena. The NDP pitching to build a downtown university campus. A testament to just how important the province's biggest city is in this election.
Everyone's said it, that's all anyone's talked about, and it is. It's important. That's where, most of the ridings that could go one way or the other are.
Calgary voters not just picking a winner in their city, but charting a political course for the entire province.
So, after all the attention put on Calgary, Aaron, during the campaign, has anybody clinched it?
Not yet, Adrian. Still a lot of votes to count, but a picture is forming here in Calgary. We see about a mixed bag of things here. About half of the seats, the ridings leaning towards the NDP, the other half leaning towards the UCP. But remember, the NDP really needed to make big inroads here. They really needed to sweep the city, where the UCP, they just needed to hang on to about half of the seats they won last time out.
All right, Aaron Collins in Calgary. Thank you. So let's bring in CBC senior political correspondent Rosemary Barton. So Rosie, Alberta's decision tonight obviously going to be felt beyond the province.
Yeah, I think in a couple of ways too, Adrian. First of all, climate change and energy is sort of what this town what this province is all about. And if the federal Liberals, for instance, want to move forward both with energy development and a green transition and fight climate change, they need to find a way to get this province to buy in. And I think they will come up against two very different realities depending on who wins tonight. And I would say that's the other thing that the rest of the country needs to watch for, the style of leadership from both of these women. Danielle Smith has been much more combative in her relationship with Ottawa to date, of course, introducing the Sovereignty Act to assert federal jurisdiction. Rachel Notley, in her time as Premier too, stood up for what Alberta wanted and needed, but also was much more collaborative. And I think that will give us a sense of how this country is going to work, depending on who wins tonight.
And so there's obviously, a lot riding on this for both party leaders as well, not to put too fine a point on it, but what happens to the loser?
Listen, I think if Danielle Smith loses tonight, that's the end of it. Conservatives in this province are not very kind and patient with one another. There's even a suggestion that if Danielle Smith doesn't have a sweeping victory tonight, the knives could be out for her very, very quickly. Rachel Notley has been Premier and has run in elections and sat as Leader of the Opposition. She too may see the end of her political career tonight, but I would wager that that will be more a personal decision for her rather than anyone inside her caucus forcing her out before she wants to go.
All right, Rosie, thank you. So that is the election for the moment, but you can find full round-the-clock coverage of the Alberta vote on CBC News Network starting right when the polls close. So still in Alberta, in Calgary, 2 men are dead, shot by police. A third is in custody. So it happened this morning after police say they responded to a 5-ton cube van driving erratically, endangering the public. They say after pursuing it for 45 minutes, things escalated and an officer opened fire. Alberta's Serious Incident Response Team is investigating. Now, a number of communities in Nova Scotia are under threat tonight as an out-of-control wildfire burns dangerously close to Halifax. Already, it has forced thousands to evacuate. It's also creating several close calls, including this one caught on camera.
Oh, look. That's fire.
The situation escalated rapidly from smoke in the distance to flames and ash in every direction.
It's all us. Go.
Visibility was suddenly terrible, leading to what could have been a devastating crash. The near miss elevating the sense of urgency and, of course, the panic.
If you want me to drive, I can drive.
After that offer goes unanswered, someone turned to prayer. Seconds later, their car emerges from the fire. That ordeal done as suddenly as it began. So that fire burning outside of Halifax is one of 3 that are out of control in Nova Scotia. Collectively, they forced more than 17,000 people to evacuate while also sending smoke across much of the province. Kayla Hounsell now with the efforts to contain the flames and the fear and the stories of those who've had to flee.
Whoa, I need to go.
While the people in this car were frantically trying to make their way through all those flames,
Go.
they nearly struck the people in this car.
It was terrifying. We could feel the heat coming to the car. We couldn't see in front of us.
Peter and Marion Gillespie were out with friends when they heard about the fire.
They're not going to let us in.
They tried to go home and grab some things, but were turned around.
We honestly thought we were going to die. It was ash and sparks falling down onto the car, the heat, the flames coming up from the trees on both sides. It was unbelievable.
More than 16,000 people in the Halifax area were forced out of their homes Sunday. Another 1,200 to 1,500 due to another fire in the southwestern part of the province. Now many have discovered they no longer have homes.
I got a call from our CMP officer that he went there actually and he checked at our home and he said that it's completely burnt out and they couldn't find our pets.
Catherine Tarateski was with her husband and baby. They couldn't get in to get their dog and cat.
I just feel so much guilt that we didn't make it earlier.
Officials say about 200 homes and structures have been damaged in the Halifax area alone. Some first responders are trying to save other people's homes, knowing their own are already gone.
The fuels in the forest are extremely dry. That's why this is such a precarious situation. One small fire can lead to something very big very quickly.
And it is being driven by high winds.
Our neighborhood's never going to be the same.
Doug O'Coin has no idea whether his house is still standing.
Right? 'Cause we're talking about the fires in Alberta and saying, oh, feel so bad for those people, and now we're those people.
Unlike Alberta, Nova Scotia is not used to wildfires. The last significant fire here was in 2009, making it all the more frightening for those living through it.
And eventually we saw some clearing, as the video shows, and then got out of it, which was the best moment of my life.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too.
One moment of relief and an easier drive today as they hope all is well at their home.
It's a lot. Kayla joins us now from the Fire Command Center in the Halifax area. Kayla, obviously weather's a huge factor here. What's your sense of the days ahead?
Well, Adrian, there is no significant rain in the forecast, no rain at all until Friday. This wind is dying down tonight, but it is expected to strengthen again tomorrow. There is a glimmer of hope here in the Halifax area, which is that there has been no growth in the fire today. But when it comes to that fire burning in southwestern Nova Scotia, it has been growing. And depending what happens next, Adrian, officials say more people could have to leave their homes quickly.
Terrible. All right, Kale Hounsell, thank you. All these wildfires appear to be raging right across the country. According to Natural Resources Canada, more than 2 million hectares of land have burned so far this year, forcing people from their homes and straining firefighting resources. Alison Northcott looks at the situation from coast to coast to coast.
Smoke still fills the sky near St. Andrews, New Brunswick, where hundreds of residents fled their homes as flames got closer.
Said some prayers overnight, and this morning we woke up and drove back to see what was going on, and it looks like we didn't get hit, so thank God, but it's sparking up there again.
We couldn't grab anything last night, we just had to leave, so.
This fire, one of more than a dozen burning in New Brunswick, started when an ATV caught fire in the woods.
With the wind today and the dry conditions, it just ran.
With conditions like those, fire risks are extremely high in areas across the country.
Any activity such as leaving a barbecue unattended, disposing of used charcoal, or setting off fireworks could be disastrous in the current conditions.
With fires creeping towards communities in BC, some residents have been ordered to evacuate. There are also fires burning in the Northwest Territories. The community of Sambake is on alert, with crews working to minimize the potential damage if the fire burning nearby gets too close.
They're being scorched with fire to the south of them, and so they're just waiting to be evacuated by the sound of it. From talking to the chief, I guess they're all smoked in, and there's all kinds of cinder and everything dropping.
Water bombers have been dousing flames in Quebec. A campfire ban is in effect across most of the province.
For the next week, we will check what's going on with the weather. Are people are ready to attack if we have any fire?
But with so many fires burning, the federal government is worried about wearing out the resources.
The fire season that Canada is facing right now is extremely challenging, and we recognize there is a need for more trained firefighters.
But this fire season is already underway, and that extra help isn't available yet. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Police in British Columbia have discovered the remains of a woman who went missing 12 years ago.
The investigation is ongoing and active, and we have not ruled out foul play.
Madison Scott was last seen on May 28, 2011, during a friend's birthday party at a campsite. Police say her remains were found at a nearby rural property. Investigators would not confirm if new information led to the discovery. Scott was 20 at the time of her disappearance. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. And a neighborhood in Hamilton, Ontario is still reeling from a chilling crime this weekend. A landlord allegedly killed 2 young tenants before dying in an exchange of gunfire with police. Thomas Dagla on what more we've learned.
Carissa McDonald and Aaron Stone were engaged to be married in August.
often posing for pictures with their beloved dog, Max. They shared this photo last year from outside the home where this past weekend their lives were cut short.
It's scary. It's very scary because it's across the street from my house.
Police say the pair were fleeing their rented home when they were killed after what investigators describe as a dispute with the landlord. The sound of gunshots Saturday night left neighbors shaken.
Oh, I was terrified. Yeah, I think I was having a panic attack. That's how bad it was.
Property records obtained by CBC News identify the home's owner as Terry Gerald Brecka.
That's it for now, okay?
His neighbors Tony and Joanne Greenlee say they had to install a tent in their backyard just for some privacy from the man next door.
He was always on top of his roof. He was always spying on us everywhere. It's almost like we couldn't breathe in our backyard.
After an hours-long standoff Saturday night that had officers drawing their guns, investigators say police and the suspect each opened fire, and the landlord was killed.
Little is known about the conflict that police say led to the shooting. The Ontario board that looks into disputes between landlords and tenants tells CBC News they received no recent reports from this address.
On Monday, blood spatter remained visible near the front entrance, and bullet holes were seen in nearby vehicles. Police acknowledge they may never understand the shooter's motive, but
it might have been a dispute over some mold. So that's what we're investigating, to see if that's in fact what this was about.
now that house is not just the scene of a crime, but the focus of the investigation. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Hamilton, Ontario.
A former Canadian soldier has been extradited to Thailand, charged with murder for his alleged role in a contract killing. Thai police footage shows Matthew Dupre arriving in Bangkok on Sunday under some tight security. Dupre is accused of killing an influential member of a rival Canadian gang in Thailand. In December, an Alberta court approved his extradition. And there is outrage tonight over an anti-LGBTQ bill signed into law today in Uganda, one of dozens of countries in Africa with some kind of anti-gay law. But as Sasha Petrusik tells us, nothing as severe as this.
The whole of Africa's LGBTQ community feared it, as Uganda's parliament cheered it, ignoring warnings from the West to pass the harshest anti-gay law in the world. Lawmakers declared victory.
If you perform a sexual act with a person of the same sex, then you have committed the offense of homosexuality. And what is the punishment? Imprisonment for life.
So-called aggravated homosexuality, including gay sex while infected with HIV, can carry the death penalty. Those who help the LGBTQ community also face up to 20 years in prison. Activists were in tears.
Where are we supposed to go? How did we become refugees in our own countries?
In the West, the new law was condemned, U.S. President Joe Biden calling it a tragic violation of universal human rights. He's considering additional steps, including sanctions. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeted, "This law is appalling and abhorrent, and we strongly condemn it."
We have to remain vigilant on LGBTQIS+ rights here in Canada, and we have to stick up for them around the world as well.
Those who help LGBTQ refugees flee now fear a ripple effect of similar laws through countries like Ghana and Nigeria and beyond Africa.
We're also experiencing a regression of rights all around the world. There is a very well-funded, coordinated effort in many countries around the world, including the United States.
Uganda is resisting any pressure to backtrack, planning instead to look for political and financial support from like-minded countries as it loses it elsewhere. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman whose face was left scarred by a childhood accident has created a new makeup line aimed at being more inclusive.
I always struggled even finding my shade, so that's why I made sure I launched my brand with 40 different colors.
Why it's getting a lot of attention from a major cosmetic retailer. Next. And he's leading a private army fighting for Vladimir Putin in Ukraine.
I would not underestimate Prigozhin. There's a kind of criminal energy about him.
The ruthless tactics of the man behind the Wagner group. Plus, unusual solutions for difficult times.
Air-conditioned, heated, fireproof, very well made.
Putting roofs over heads with tiny homes. We're back in 2. Well, after a hard-fought, neck-and-neck campaign, CBC News is calling the Alberta election. Voters have made their decision and voted in another UCP government. After less than a year as Premier, Danielle Smith fended off attacks on her leadership and came out on top. A slow start to the vote counting meant the decision didn't emerge until late into the night. Returning to other news now, after a childhood accident, Basma Hamid struggled for years to find the right foundation to cover her scars. As an adult, she created her own cosmetics line. Well, now she's helping to transform the beauty industry. Sophia Harris on 40 Shades of Change and the attention it's getting.
Now we have shade 33.
For Basma Hamid, it's still sinking in. Her 40 shade foundation, called Basma, is selling at beauty giant Sephora.
I'm still in disbelief. I mean, growing up, I didn't see anybody that looked like me, that was, that owned a beauty brand, that was Middle Eastern, that was a burn survivor.
At the age of 2 in her native country, Iraq, Hamid's face was burned in a kitchen accident. She tried to cover the scars, but couldn't find a foundation that worked.
I always struggled even finding my shade, so that's why I made sure I launched my brand with 40 different colors. We want to make sure that everybody feels included.
I use Natural Wonder oil-free makeup.
In the past, the beauty industry has been criticized for not being inclusive. Now, that's changing.
You should be accepted as you are.
Last week, Hamid took part in a Sephora-hosted discussion panel on diversity in the beauty industry. Sephora partnered with Hamid as part of its commitment to sell more brands with diverse owners.
She is at the core of all we're trying to accomplish. It's critical that we are truly reflecting the community we represent.
Still, Hamid faces challenges, such as stiff competition.
You want more.
Pop star Rihanna's foundation now boasts more than 50 shades.
Shade 001 right here.
There's also criticism from a beauty blogger that Hamid's darkest shade isn't dark enough.
Companies should make our shade.
I have a hard time finding foundation.
This communications expert says even though foundations have become more inclusive, they often still lack darker shades.
They just haven't been putting the science into developing the products that are actually going to address all the little undertones in black skin.
In response to the complaint, Hamid spent more than 2 months developing 2 deeper shades.
I don't want anybody to feel like they're left out.
Hamid says customer feedback will guide her brand because everyone should be able to find their match. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Behind some of the most brutal fighting in Ukraine is the Russian paramilitary group led by a man with deep ties to Vladimir Putin.
There's a ruthlessness about him that makes him a very dangerous opponent indeed.
Terence McKenna takes a closer look at the leader of the Wagner group. And building little solutions to a very big problem.
I feel good about myself, that I'm not on the street, that I have a roof over my head.
Nick Burden checks in on a citizen-driven project tackling homelessness. The National takes you deeper into the story shaping our world. Next. Some newly released drone footage shows the wasteland that is now Bakhmut, seemingly nothing left intact after months of intense fighting. A bloody siege waged largely by Russia's mercenary group, Wagner. Its founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, seen here just days ago. But his latest battle may be with Moscow's military elite. Tonight, we revisit Terence McKenna's story of Prigozhin's rise, just days before he claims the Wagner group will turn over the beleaguered city of Bakhmut to the Russian army.
Все получают компенсации за
потерю ноги, там, потерю руки, там, колостому и так далее.
Meet Evgeny Prigozhin, the latest star of the Russian war effort in Ukraine. Here he's making a recruitment video for his supposedly private army, the Wagner Group, which has its own exclusive supply of weapons and its own graveyard.
Погибшие парни, их номера и ордена, которые они имеют.
Это все Вагнер, да?
Это все чувака Вагнер, да.
He has a preoccupation with the glory of dying for Mother Russia.
Vladimir, how are you?
I am fine.
You're doing great.
Prigozhin first appeared on the scene back in 2006 when President George W. Bush and his wife Laura visited Vladimir Putin and his then wife in St. Petersburg. In the background of an intimate dinner, there was Prigozhin, who became known as Putin's chef. In the years since, Prigozhin became a featured performer at Putin birthday parties and government dinners. Eventually, he was awarded massive contracts to provide food for government events, school lunch programs, and for the army. He became very rich. Prigozhin came to the attention of U.S. authorities when he started a side business called the Internet Research Agency that was involved with computer hacking. And he was soon indicted by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation for the company's documented attempts to interfere with U.S. federal elections. Prigozhin at first denied that he had anything to do with the internet company, but recently admitted that he started it and that he was proud of his attempts to influence U.S. elections. He similarly at first denied any connection to the much bigger Wagner Group company, but eventually he also admitted his ownership of that.
I would not underestimate Prigozhin. There's a kind of criminal energy about him.
Luke Harding was the Russia correspondent for The Guardian newspaper and has now written a book called Invasion about the war in Ukraine.
There's a ruthlessness about him, and there's also a kind of PR media flair about him that makes him a very dangerous opponent indeed.
Now Prigozhin is playing a key role in the Ukraine war. He appears in videos from the front lines and claims his Wagner forces are solely responsible for recent battlefield successes there. In a bizarre power struggle, he frequently denounces the generals in charge of the regular Russian army as ineffectual cowards.
He's very close to Vladimir Putin, and in a way he's kind of the president that Putin thinks he is but isn't. I mean, Putin spends his time in the bunker. Prigozhin spends his time on the front line.
Prigozhin's clandestine activities began in Africa, where his Wagner Group mercenaries supported local dictators by eliminating their enemies. There were multiple human rights abuses catalogued by the Hodorkovsky Dossier Center in London, where this Russian investigator prefers to remain anonymous because the Wagner Group has been known to kill undesirable journalists.
Once a host country opens doors for them, they quite quickly become a power that can do pretty much whatever they want. And that ends up to a really huge harm to the local population because we're talking about rape, we're talking about murders.
Does the Wagner Group want the reputation of being more brutal?
Of course they do. That's a perfect reputation for quite bloody guys.
In Ukraine, the Wagner Group enhanced their reputation for brutality by raping women, torturing men during interrogations, and even burning them alive in front of their families. Then in September, this video was released of Prigozhin in a Russian prison yard, recruiting inmates, including murderers and rapists, to become soldiers in his private army.
Минимальный возраст, который мы берем, возраст, это 22 года. Если моложе, бумажка от ближайших родственников, что они не против. Максимальный возраст, условно, это...
Prigozhin was comfortable in this setting. He himself had spent 9 years in prison in the 1980s for fraud and robbery. The inmates were offered freedom for a few months of fighting in Ukraine, but were told that there would be no surrender tolerated. One Wagner defector confirmed that retreat or surrender was not permitted.
Мне известно достоверно о 3 расстрелах заключенных, именно которые пытались совершить попытку побега с госпиталя. Ну, показательно. Вот предатели, вот Отказники. Вот смотрите, что может быть.
The Wagner forces in Ukraine more than quadrupled inside with the added forces and have been able to claim some victories in eastern Ukraine. This month, Prigozhin bragged that his troops were winning in the house-to-house fighting around Bakhmut.
Зажали подразделения противника. Отказывались, те, кто отказывались сдаваться в плен, тех уничтожали.
In this bizarre video, he seemed to brag about the number of soldiers who died under his command, standing beside a pile of bodies and bags.
Отвезут, положат в цинки, повезут домой, которые погибли героически.
Dissident Russian journalist Mark Krotov of Radio Free Europe has closely tracked the activities of the Wagner group in Ukraine, where he says their troops are clearly treated like cannon fodder on the battlefield.
We see dozens of dead bodies lying. We see dozens of shell craters, and if we look closely, we can see the part of the body. So I think somebody counted like 60 people here, and that's their typical tactics. That's Wagner's cannon fodder.
What's the purpose of that? What do they gain from that?
They make Ukraine to waste expensive ammunition. First. They make Ukrainians to reveal their fighting position, their firing positions. They don't care about people, but they care about revealing and exhausting Ukrainian army because they have a lot of people, they can rotate them.
Prigozhin has viciously attacked both former Chief of Staff Valery Gerasimov on the left, who has recently been put in charge of all Russian forces in Ukraine, and Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu.
No one expects that Putin will do something with Prigozhin because Surovikin or because Shoigu is not happy with him. It's how he manages the thing for the last few decades.
So
the balance
plays
of power.
one off the other.
Yes. He plays one versus other, and he never allows anyone to rise too high.
Prigozhin's latest photo op was in the just-captured salt mines under the town of Solidar in eastern Ukraine.
We've now moved into a new phase where Prigozhin is playing a game. He's playing a very high-level game. There's a sort of power struggle of sorts going on between the Russian general staff of the armed forces and Prigozhin and Wagner. And what Prigozhin is saying, including by the recent capture of Solidar, is that my guys are more effective, more ruthless, more efficient than you are, therefore I should be given more control of this war. It's a power play, and I think it's quite a successful power play.
I think the thing Prigozhin wants most of all is real political power, to become a political figure, because he knows that when you become high-ranked political figure, if you succeed your competitors, if you manage to survive, then you can convert this power into much more money than he can gain now.
We are talking about mafia state, if I may, okay? Law is out. Law is these Kremlin people. They decide what to do with you. Does it mean that Prigozhin at some point can be disposed? Yes, it does, absolutely. When he's not going to be needed, he might have the same fate, or either go to jail or be, executed.
The U.S. government said last week that the Wagner Group had recruited over 40,000 convicts to serve on the front lines in Ukraine. A Russian human rights organization said that 3/4 of those have already been killed or wounded, deserted, or surrendered. The growing body count doesn't seem to faze Vladimir Putin, as long as Prigozhin can claim some advances in eastern Ukraine.
That was the CBC's Terence McKenna. Ukraine says that Russian attacks in Bakhmut have paused, though Prigozhin has become more verbally aggressive. He has demanded more resources for his troops and has threatened to withdraw his private army from Ukraine. Coming up, with many people in this country struggling to find housing, some are taking matters into their own hands.
I knew that if we were going to build buildings that were under 10 square meters and didn't have any plumbing, they don't need building permits.
Nick Purden shows the do-it-yourself approach that's created a community for those in need. A new kind of housing has been popping up in some parts of Canada. Some maintain so-called tiny homes are an effective stopgap for people experiencing homelessness. Earlier this year, Nick Purden visited one such development in Ontario to see how it's helping people there.
Coming from being out there on the street, I've seen people cry when they get their keys to their house. Thank you for saving my soul. That's what they would say.
But, you know, if all goes well,
You know, we may not want to think about this, but on any given night, as many as 35,000 Canadians don't have a place to sleep. There are homeless encampments in every city, all across the country. The Canadian Human Rights Commission calls this a human rights crisis. So I'm here in Kitchener-Waterloo because they're trying to do something about it. Could these tiny homes be a solution to the crisis? This place is called a better tent city. There are 42 buildings, 50 or so people live here, people who otherwise would be living on the street. Nadine Green lives in this yellow house.
This is about people who are homeless, and I'm sure people may say, oh, these houses are little. This is better than not if you have nowhere to go, this is it. Picture having nowhere to live. Picture sleeping under a bridge to having your own house where you can open your door.
Nadine and a few other people built this place from scratch with private money. And now she works here. She's kind of the superintendent.
Hey Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I can't find the bathroom keys.
The first resident I meet is Diana Myers.
Okay.
Diana lived in a tent before moving here.
What does it mean to you to have a house?
A house means a lot to me. Without a house, I don't know what I would do. I feel safe. I feel good about myself, that I'm not on the street, that I have a roof over my head.
And how long have you lived here?
3 years.
So if you've been here 3 years.
Yeah.
If you were still out on the street for those 3 years, where do you think you'd be at?
Oh boy, I don't know. Probably dead or something.
Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that those are the stakes here.
And see, you want to see the showers.
Today, Diana says she's doing well.
Got it.
She feels part of something. The residents here all have responsibilities, and Diana shows Nadine how she cleaned the showers.
Yeah, I give them a good clean.
Has anybody seen David? Have you seen David?
Nadine tells me that one of the main reasons people here became homeless is addiction. And she decided that a better tent city would try to address that.
No, I just wanted to know if you want to go to Methadone. Okay, so is Charles going? Is he home? Are you gonna go? Like the ride is ready. Megan, you ready?
The residents get a ride to a methadone clinic.
I'm just trying to gather up people so they can go to deal with their addiction.
Nadine is proud of the things they do here for residents, like the meals they serve every day with the help of volunteers in the local food bank. It's in the kitchen I meet Jeff Wilmer. Now, he's one of the other people who started this place. As a longtime city planner, he knew the loophole to get the houses built in the first place.
So I knew that if we were going to build buildings that were under 10 square meters and didn't have any plumbing, they don't need building permits. So that was really opened the door for this initiative, that we could situate as many as we wanted, really, and there should be no questions about why didn't we get building permits. We don't need building permits, period. We've got a few people sleeping on couches, so keep it quiet.
Jeff says that the houses here are in high demand. Every day there are people sleeping in the common room. A Better Tent City now has a waiting list.
This is a stopgap measure. This is not the end solution, although it's a pretty good stopgap measure. And this is partly why we called it a Better Tent City. It's not perfect, but it's better than living in a tent because you've got your own cabin with insulation and electricity and heat, and you've got meals and you've got community. All those things are better.
Jeff says he knows the place works because he spends time with the people here, like Beverly Melanson.
Didn't even notice you there.
Bev tells Jeff about when a volunteer first gave her her house.
He came up and he said, "Bev, come here," and I went out to him, and he was dingling the keys. He said, "Merry Christmas."
The keys to your own house?
Yeah, so I just started crying.
I guess.
You know, I mean, after being homeless for like 10 years. So it was, I went and ran into the house, turned my heater on, and I didn't take nothing from my tent or anything. I just laid there like, oh, this is so nice.
For Jeff, maybe the biggest measure of success of a better tent city is that a dozen cities across the country have contacted him because they want to do the same thing. In fact, just a few kilometers away, the Waterloo region has built 50 tiny houses of their own.
This is a response to the chronic issue of homelessness in our community. It's an attempt to try something different.
That's Peter Sweeney, the Commissioner of Community Services for the area. He says people will move in here any day now.
This is one of the tiny homes. It's about 10 by 10. It's metal construction, air conditioned, heated, fireproof, very well made.
You know, where did the idea of the little houses come from?
I'd say this entire idea has been inspired by what we've learned from our friends at A Better Tent City, in the idea that that people will come to places where they have their own small little pace. And so that's where it was inspired from.
These tiny houses may become the new way municipalities try to solve the problem of chronic homelessness. I want to understand what it's like to live in one of them.
Oh, this is my home. Come on in.
Back at A Better Tent City, I meet Joe Lima, and he invites me inside his house.
Come on in, gentlemen.
Wow.
This is my little home. This is storage up here. I've built a little shelf here. Gives me a little more space where I can put my cereals and things like that. This is my fridge. I mounted into the wall, which gives me a lot more room.
What's that there?
The camera I bought off a friend of mine because I had a little wagon outside and somebody stole it. So I put a camera up and now I can catch anybody.
Joe used to own his own house, but because of addiction and, well, life, he lost everything. He's been living here for a year now. What is coming and living here? What's it done for you?
Well, it's changed my life. You know, I come here with not much to live for. I was not going to do anything stupid, you know, but really depressed. And this place has brought me thinking better about life, everything else, and it's brought me back to my old, getting my old ways back, where I'm insulting my friends, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm feeling good about myself lately. I'm smiling again, you know, even though I'm missing my teeth, right? But yeah, I'm happier now than I have been a year ago, yes.
Joe tells me he's a heavy machinery operator and that he's ready to move out.
But I'm planning to get back to work, and it's just a matter of time, right? I'm looking for a job right now. Get back to work and, you know, pass this wonderful little cabin to somebody that deserves it and is willing to give me $500,000 for it.
If Joe moves out, maybe that'll be the best example of how the stability this place provides helps people.
Hey, what's up, Nadine? A Better Tent City.
Nadine tells me that in the last 3 years, 4 people have left and gotten their own apartments.
I always feel proud when I'm walking anywhere in here. People may think, proud of this. Yes, we are proud of this. We can help people, Canadians. A Better Tent City's home. A Better Tent City is my life. It's everything.
Nick Purdon, CBC News, Kitchener-Waterloo.
There are also a lot of critics of this trend of tiny homes. Some say it's no more than a Band-Aid solution and that the cost of building and maintaining these developments would be better spent on things like rent supplements for people struggling to find housing.
Achieve my goals, live my dream, and open doors to other women.
Coming up, barriers broken, history being made in our moment. Well, some good news tonight at the World Championships in Moose Jaw. Raphael Toussignon made history, becoming the first woman to play for Canada's national para-hockey team. So she is chasing a dream of competing in the Paralympics. She says playing on the World Championship squad is just the first step. Her historic achievement is our moment.
When I found out that I will be the first woman to attempt the World Championship with Team Canada, I feel very proud of myself. I'm also nervous, but it still feels very unreal to me. My first goal is not to inspire people, it's more to just achieve my goals, live my dream, and open doors to other women. I am aware that I am a role model, potentially a role model for many little girls and women around Canada and probably around the world too. I am very proud and I'm very honored to have this role, but it also comes with a pressure. The message I will send to any little girls, women around Canada and around the world is to never give up on your dreams.
It's Toussaint with a goal!
A lot of people in the last couple of years didn't believe that I will be able to achieve that, but at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself and you truly work hard and you know that you can achieve it, no one can stop you.
Okay, you go, Raphael. This is really just the start. She wants to compete on a women's team, but there is no women's team at the moment. So if she's going to be a Paralympian in 2026, she's got to stick with the men. This is just the beginning. And that is the National for May the 29th. Thank you for being with us. Have a good night.